to me, sixth form slash college was actually quite different to what I expected. In this video, I'm going to be explaining what the transition from GCSEs and secondary school to sixth form college and A-levels is like. This video should hopefully calm some nerves and just explain. It's useful to watch to understand what it's like, and hopefully I can put aside some common, I think, misconceptions. So this video is going to be split into two parts. Number one, I'm going to be talking about the social side of college. So what is it like socially? How does that change from secondary school? And number two, I'm going to be talking about how does the work change? How are A-levels different from GCSEs? In future videos, I'm going to be talking about, how to prepare for A-levels and more of that sort of stuff. But today, I'm just giving you an introduction to college and what that's like. One final reminder before I get into this is please leave a like on the video, so two reminders. And also, on the 23rd of August, I'm doing a webinar. So it's going to be 1 hour long, this big crash course on how to get A stars in your A-levels. It's going to be £5. The link is in the description. I'd really recommend signing up to this. I'm literally just going to go through all you can do to get A stars in your A-levels. Because to be honest, in A-levels, the work I put in the first year and the first half of the second year was so helpful for my end result in A-levels. It meant I could relax at the end. And in A-levels, I believe I found a really, really good plan to get A stars across the entire 2 years. So make sure to sign up for that if you'd like to get A stars and if you want some information on that too. Okay, the social side. So I'm going to talk about that now. My college is separate. It wasn't a sixth form, it was actually a college, so separate from my secondary school, was quite small. So I think the size of the college you're going to really alters what the social life is going to be like. Mine was small, and I know lots of people who went to one that was in our local area, which was very big, much bigger. So the fact that my college was small meant it was much more disconnected from each other than in secondary school. And I think this applies to most colleges too. In secondary school, you know everyone, like you talk to everyone. And in college, classes are very separate. Everyone's got different timetables, so you're not always in at the same time. My timetables were very different. I'd only be in on for an hour and a half on one day, 3 hours on another day. So you don't get to know everyone in your year unless your college is very, very small, like you do in secondary school. And that was actually quite a big difference. Because my college was smaller as well, there was less, the classes were much smaller. So socially, it was much less, compared to secondary school and my social experience in secondary school, college was a lot less. You had less friends, there are less people that you just talk to, I'd say. So that is something to bear in mind. If you go to a bigger college, then some people found it really busy. Some people had a great social life. But for me, I think the social life is definitely different. People are a bit more focused on their A-levels. It's a bit more in groups than it is in secondary school, where you may be able to talk to everyone. So I think that's a really important thing to note socially. And the other point which I've touched on is free time. This was a massive change from secondary school, because in college you have so much more free time. Like I said, obviously it depends on your timetable, but most colleges you don't have to be in all the time. You can literally only have an hour and a half a day, or 2 hours a day, or 50 minutes a day in some colleges. So there is loads of free time, especially if you stay at that college during that free time. And in this time, in the first year, especially because you're doing less work, there's a lot of chance to socialise. So while the social life can be a little bit smaller, a bit less connected, you can actually spend a lot of time. You're old enough to go into town in gaps and stuff like that, or go into the city or wherever you're going to college. So there's chance for a bit more social, a bit more fun, I'd say, in terms of stuff like that, and freedom and independence, although the social life is a lot smaller. My final point in terms of social life is friends in class. For me, my experience, I made most of my friends in class at college, in my classes. So to those that are a little bit nervous in college, the first few weeks it just happens, it takes time to get to know people. For me, I was quite lucky because some of the people in my classes, I went to the same secondary school as them, so that really helped. But you just do meet friends, and you just do make friends in your classes. So I would prioritize making friends in your classes if I were you, because I think that's where most of your friends will be, because they're in at the same time as you, so they will probably have a similar-ish timetable to you. So that's a bit of a lowdown on the social life in college. Leave any questions, let me know. It is fun, it is a good social life. It's more relaxed and it's more independent. It's less connected than secondary school, but people are a bit more focused on their future and on A-levels and stuff like that. My second point now is I'm moving on to work. So I've touched on this before, and I think this is what I mean by college was different to what I expected, or sixth form was different to what I expected. The sheer amount of free time that you have, for me, is crazy. Nobody really prepared me for that. In secondary school, from Monday to Friday, I had timetable lessons from, I don't know, 8:30 to 3 or something like that, 2:30, just the whole time. And in college, this just isn't the case. And honestly, for me, I can't understate the impact this change has. Your A levels are so much more independent than secondary school. Often resources for some subjects are smaller than they are for GCSE. Even maths I took, there's loads of resources for A-level maths to be fair, but something like politics, there's a lot less resources. So the independence you need is crazy. It's a lot more than I expected. You need to be independent and do more work from home. Stuff like that I think is a really big difference. The amount of free time you have and the amount of times you're actually spent in lessons, like I said, is significantly reduced. So this means you do need to be much more independent, and that's where my future videos are going to come in. So please make sure you're subscribed and stuff, because I'll be explaining how you can be independent and how you can use that and get top grades. For those that are able to work well, because for instance, I actually can work quite well independently. It's a really good thing. For those that can't, that does require some adaptation. So that's something about A levels that I think surprised me, was the amount of independence and the amount of time you needed to take to learn your own stuff, and the amount of time you have from home or not actually in classes where you need to be learning and you need to be revising. My second point in terms of A levels is, to be honest, they are much harder than GCSEs overall. They just are more difficult. You do learn to balance it and you do get used to it a lot. So it's not crazy more difficult, but there were a couple of times, especially in the second year, where I remember thinking like, these are actually really difficult. A-level maths I took, at some points it's just a really hard subject. Same with history, politics, those are the A-levels I took. A-levels, it is a step up. You can't get caught out in the beginning. That's why my crash course is going to be helpful too, because I'm going to explain what you should be doing from the start. But if you don't work hard, or at least work a bit in the first year, I think if you want to get A stars, it's going to be very difficult. So they are more difficult A-levels. There's much more content than in the GCSE. Obviously, there's less subjects, so in some ways GCSEs were a bit more difficult because you had to learn loads of stuff for different subjects, but GCSEs was much more fact checking. You know, you need to know these facts, you need to know this. A-levels is so much more about putting facts into writing or questions or answers, anything like that. So A-levels, you need a deeper understanding, and like I said, it's more independent. They are more difficult than GCSEs. They're very doable. I think they're more enjoyable than GCSEs overall because you're specialising in subjects you like. And I just want to say, yeah, they are difficult. Be prepared for that. That doesn't mean it's crazy hard. You can get used to it. It just means you have to work harder across the 2 years than you did in secondary school. I only started working in secondary school in year 11 and I got all 9s. So yeah, 2 years across the A-levels, work is going to be needed. So I hope that video was helpful. That's just to kind of summarize and give you hopefully an insight into college. College is great fun. For me, it was such a good 2 years because, like I said, there's more independence. You learn to drive. It's really exciting 2 years. You love your A-levels, or hopefully you love and enjoy your A-levels. There's more freedom. You can work more. So overall, college was a really good experience, and I'm sure it will be for all of you guys. But you've got to be aware, so you're not surprised. You've got to be able to put the work in from the start, and things will be so much easier and more enjoyable to you. Thanks for watching. Please leave a like, and I'd really recommend signing up for the crash course that I'm going to be doing.